कैमरे पे क्लिक कीजिए। ठीक है।
Okay. Thank you.
हेलो सोहेल साहब।
Hello, hello. Zahra Naqvi साहिबा, क्या बात है? आप कुछ सेहतमंद हो रही हैं कि नहीं? आप म्यूट हैं, आवाज नहीं आ रही। Shannon, good morning. Shannon, you can unmute yourself. Betty Davis, good morning.
Betty Davis, good morning. Hi Shannon. Hi Betty. Can you hear me? Love you guys.
Good morning, everybody. I was
morning.
like, I was looking like a technical geek because I was trying to get my camera to work.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning. Samar Sahiba, good morning.
Good morning, Sohail Saab. Good morning, everyone.
Good day, everyone. The chat is not working, just FYI.
Good morning, Farah.
Good morning,
Good morning,
Farah.
Dr. Saab. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Happy Sunday, everyone.
Good morning, Zara. Good to see your sweet face. And there's Uzma. Good morning, Uzma.
Good morning. Happy Sunday, Betty.
Happy Sunday. Happy Green Zone Sunday.
Samar, I'm glad you could join. I know you are busy with other family responsibilities.
Yes, I thought I switched the things around and I thought I should join.
Good,
And,
good, good.
Yeah. As you said, Samar's passion and compassion.
Good, good, good. No, I'm glad you are part of the core team. Patty
Yes,
and
yes.
you and Zahra and few others.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
the
Thank
my
you for making me part of it.
my consultation team. And here is Santosh Kamrani. I never use the expression good day, but now it's good morning in Canada and good evening in Pakistan. So good day would work for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Same to you.
Yeah. Santosh Kamrani Sahab, good evening for you.
Janab, thank you very much. Same
Always
to you. Same to you.
Always nice to see you.
Thank you. Your blessings.
Yeah,
Your blessings.
thank you. And the articles that you're writing on Hamsab, they are so impressive. I'm so proud of you.
Sir, this is nothing but you behind me.
Yeah, no. You wrote on PTSD. That was wonderful.
Thank you, sir.
And,
Thank you.
And here is Naeem Ashraf Saab from Calgary, 2 hours before us. So it's 9 a.m. for Naeem Ashraf in Calgary.
I'm just wanting to make sure. Can you hear me, Dr. Sohail?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. Good.
How are you, Shannon? Welcome.
I am good, thank you. I tried on my laptop and it wasn't working. I couldn't hear you guys, so you're on.
No. Awesome.
Dr. Sohail, I'm not sure who the host is, but the chat is still disabled for people that are just a guest. I'm just letting you folks know in case you're expecting some interaction.
Yeah. Say that again. I think Muqaddas is the host, but
I think the chat option is now available. Just go to the chat option in the top bar and tap it, and you will get access to typing the messages and reading the present text there. I can see some messages by Nazir Hussain, Zahra Naqvi, and Eden Khwaja.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if only the hosts are able to do it because I'm not able to still put anything in the chat. But it's okay.
Okay, let me double check it.
Can you hear me, Dr. Saab?
Yes, Naeem Ashraf Saab.
Good morning.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Good morning. Yeah, good morning from Calgary.
Yeah.
It's
Shannon, he was here in Toronto yesterday and he is in Calgary today.
yeah.
So
A
It's a
traveler.
good thing.
he,
Good thing he got back while WestJet
yeah,
got back on board.
yeah,
Yeah.
they,
So the
they
WestJet strike was during my visit, not in the start and not in the end. So I was not affected by that.
Beautiful.
Bernadine, good morning.
Good morning.
I can see on one screen, I can see 9 people. I think there are 3 screens. So there must be,
26
but
people are there right now.
yeah,
actually there are 26 people. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I'm technologically challenged, so I can see only one screen at a time. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know how to see everybody. Anyhow, that's it.
So you can go to click people and you can see
Yeah.
them.
Uzma is gonna help me.
Screen number 2, screen number 3.
Ritesh is there. Hello, Ritesh. Mohammad Zubair, Eden Khwaja, Sara Ali, Samar Ishtiaq, Nazir Hussain, Amna, Ihsan.
And here is the list of people, 26 people. You can see it from here as well. Okay.
Isko par hata de.
Thank you, Uzma, for the instruction for everybody who is technologically challenged.
Yeah.
Not speaking for me, and I'm
Yeah.
not.
So, Muqaddas, did you want to start?
Sure, Dr. Suhail.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Muqaddas Majid, and I welcome you to this webinar series, which is genuinely the idea of Dr. Khalid Sohail, that we should introduce a series of webinars where we discuss psychological issues from different dimensions, from the perspective of a therapist, from the lived experiences of the survivors of that particular problem, and some questions by the current patients of that problem. They should be entertained in these webinar series, and I welcome you to the part 2 of this series. And in the part 1 we discussed PTSD, and I'm so glad that I can see many familiar faces that we had in our previous part, who contributed significantly in making this dialogue more constructive. Welcome everyone, a warm welcome to our Green Zone community members and the new participants as well. Um, a brief introduction of Naaye Khwaab. I am the director of Naaye Khwaab, and on the behalf of our team, our coordinators, Kulsoom Nisar, Farkhanda, Shakila Ajmal, Fatima, and Nabila Mughal, I welcome you to this webinar series. We are a consultancy with 20 plus network of 20 plus consultants who offer social and psychological support, and we offer green zone therapy programs in Pakistan. And we are obliged and we are very grateful to Dr. Khalid Sohail for nurturing this forum in Pakistan and for helping us in doing constructive work in the field of psychology and social psychology in Pakistan. So over to Dr. Khalid Sohail.
Okay. Thank you, Muqaddas. I think most of you know that Muqaddas has been very helpful in organizing these webinars and, making a list of participants, sending them these links, and then not only for the preparation, but also the seminar, recording the seminar, and then putting them on YouTube. So those of you who have not been able to attend the first seminar that was with Bernadine on PTSD, they can go to YouTube and they can watch it. So let me share what we are planning to do today. First, I will introduce some of the concepts regarding PTSD. Then I'll ask Bernadine for a couple of minutes to share her experience as being the first sort of person who shared the story and what happened since then. Then I will interview Shannon, a brief overview of her struggles and her sort of challenges and how therapy helped her with sort of healing and recovery. And then I have invited some of our consultants, including Betty Davis, Samar Ishtiaq, Zahra Naqvi, Dr. Kamarani, Ritesh Rohan, Omar Farooq, Dr. Nazir Hussain, Naeem Ashraf, Muqaddas Majid. So all these people, they will share their thoughts, and then we will open it up to the audience to see if they want to ask questions, they want to make comments, and all these things will be recorded, and so that we can save them, and then uh, sort of those of us who could not attend today, they can watch it later on. so so I think last time, the recap of the last time, we focused on post-traumatic stress disorder, and I shared that in the beginning, the concept of post-traumatic stress disorder was only limited to people who were part of the war, or they were refugees of that kind of a political disasters. But slowly the psychologists and the psychotherapists realized that some of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder could be found in families that are exposed to violence or abuse or neglect. There were also some social crises where people witnessed some of the tragedies in the community. We talked about the symptoms, people having nightmares, people having flashbacks, people having a number of anxiety, depression, sort of suicidal ideas. We also talked about the difference between the adult. Bernadine was experienced that as an adult, and today we will talk about the childhood trauma that Shannon will share. One of the things that I want to highlight is that the diagnosis might be similar, but in mental health, each person experiences a condition separately. I usually give an example of two people, two men who might be suffering from bipolar disorder. One might be a president of Bank of Montreal, living lavishly, having a Jaguar to drive, and a charming wife and two children and a cottage, and living a very sort of well-off life, and his diagnosis might be bipolar disorder. And there might be another gentleman living on the streets, being homeless, had some struggles with drug or alcohol addiction, might be struggling to get an employment, with no wife, no children, no friends, sort of very living a very sort of difficult, challenging life. Both might have the diagnosis of bipolar, but their lifestyles are different. So we approach them differently. Similarly, just having a diagnosis of PTSD, each person has their own kind of struggles and challenges. One of the things that I want to share that I learned while student of psychiatry, mental health, psychology, was the concept of defense mechanisms. So one is the descriptive diagnosis about the diagnosis based on symptoms, and then there is a deeper understanding of the problem. So Sigmund Freud, the father of psychoanalysis, introduced the concept of hierarchy of defense mechanisms, hierarchy of coping mechanisms. So I'll give a few examples to highlight that. For example, in schizophrenia, people who experience a psychotic breakdown, they might have a defense mechanism of projection. So people who are paranoid, rather than saying, I hate her, it might be projected as she hates me. So people who are paranoid, they might feel that their spouse or their friend or their neighbor is after them, or the police is after them. and they are being persecuted. But in reality, it may not be so, but they are so distressed, they are so stressed that they use that mechanism to cope with that. Higher than that, in teenagers, we might see a defense mechanism that we call acting out. So, acting out is that you experience, for example, a teenager might be angry with his teacher or with his father, but he's not mature enough to deal with that and say to the father or the teacher that I am unhappy and we need to address this issue. He might act out. Acting out means he's acting out of that relationship. So you might go in the street and get into a fight, get into an argument, go to the bar and get drunk and get into trouble and police might catch him. So he has not learned a mature mechanism. Higher than that, I think with people with personality difficulties or neurosis, there are uh, sort of defense mechanisms like such as rationalization or intellectualization, that the person might not want to do something from an emotional point of view, but then he rationalizes. He gives a reason, but that reason is not the actual reason. Since Freud was more focused on dealing with people with neurosis, so he has discovered two other defense mechanisms. One was repression, and repression was when a trauma or an experience is very painful, the person pushes it downwards from conscious to the unconscious mind. So then it might come as dreams or nightmares. That's one part. The other that we will talk today with regarding to Shannon is called dissociation, and how the person sort of splits their psyche and how unknowingly they might experience things. Other people might notice, but the person may not notice how dissociation works. But then Freud also introduced some healthy mechanisms, the mature coping mechanisms. And those mature mechanisms include, one is humor. So sense of humor. With people who have a good sense of humor, they might communicate their dissatisfaction with things, but not in an insulting, belittling way, but in a humorous, in a joking way. They deliver the message, but also remain respectful. There is also a defense mechanism he quoted was sublimation. Sublimation is when a person has some tendencies that are socially unacceptable. For example, they are very angry. So rather than getting into street fights, they might go into boxing or they might go into wrestling, and they are sort of channeling their energy, their anger, their frustration in different sports. Or some people who might uh, sort of go into the media, and they might, for example, Madonna might be doing things on the stage that might be socially acceptable, but if she was doing it in the streets and in a party, it may not be acceptable. One example could be some men who like to drive very fast, have sports cars. They might get caught driving 140 kilometers in an area of 100 kilometers. But if they become ambulance drivers, so the ambulance driver is respected for rushing and running and going through the red lights because he's helping people. So transforming a inappropriate, unacceptable tendency into something that is socially acceptable. So I am sharing all these mechanisms so that some of you who are more interested in the depth psychology, the deeper psychology of understanding how unconscious mind works, how our personality functions, how we cope with challenges and all that. So because when we will talk, discuss Shannon's case, you will see that how over the years with therapy and healing and her self-education, self-reflection, she has transformed some of her immature coping mechanisms into more coping mechanisms, how she has become more like an artist and draws and paints and does things and writes poetry. That's part of her growth. And so I think this is just a background, so that last time we focused on adult PTSD, focusing on Bernardine's story, and today we will focus on Shannon's story. So before we go to Shannon, maybe I'll ask Bernardine two questions. One is, how did you feel? Because you were the first one, and I want to thank you because being the first one is not easy. So how was it for you to be in focus last time? And second, some news has come since your sort of sharing with us. So go ahead and share with us briefly these two parts. Bernadine.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here again today. I will say that the experience was extremely positive. I wasn't really sure what to expect. I wanted to thank everybody for making it possible for me to have a platform to tell my story. And I really felt that people were listening and I was heard because the the words and the takeaways that were expressed after I had finished speaking truly reflected that people were taking my words and taking them and they were going to be taking them away and using them in their own personal life or their not only in their personal life, but also in their individual practices to be able to assist others who suffer from PTSD. So I'm thrilled that out of my negative experiences, a lot of positive that's going to be happening from that. Just wanted to mention today, actually, at 11/11 was exactly 8 years ago that my trauma occurred at the bank. And it took essentially 8 years for the whole incident to finally come to closure. Since I spoke the last time, the sentencing.
I think there is some technical
Some problem
difficulty
with
and she
technology.
got, yeah, I think she's signed out now. I think she'll join.
Okay. So maybe I can share what she was planning to share was that since the last meeting in webinar, the judge decided and the person who was part of that robbery, he was given 5 years of jail sentence. And so I think after all this time, finally some sort of it concluded. And I think for Bernadine, it was a relief to see that the person was convicted, went to jail, and now she did not have to sort of carry that burden, because I think it has been years for her, because she had to give the impact statement, and each time she went to the court, it was postponed and it never concluded. So I think now that it's concluded, it's a relief and a more sort of going to the next stage. So I think it will help in her healing and recovery and all that. So let's leave the Bernadine story there, and now I'll focus on Shannon. So I'll ask her a few questions so that she could sort of share some highlights of the struggles. So Shannon, let's start with your childhood and your family. So tell us, where were you born and where did you spend the first few years of your life?
So I was born in a small town in Canada. I was born in Thunder Bay, Ontario, a very small town. And then we moved. I've moved multiple times throughout my life, over 30. But we lived in another small town just north of Oshawa for about 8 years. And then from there, we ended up moving to a small island in the West Indies, which was predominantly black. And I ended up getting very close to the people there. They became like family. And I absolutely loved that experience. I was there for a few years. And then we ended up moving to North Carolina, which was predominantly racist with white and black people. And there was still a lot going on in the 90s when it came to that. And then I came back
So,
to Canada.
okay. So I think while you were in North Carolina, maybe the age of 10, between 10 and 12, you experienced a very traumatic experience. I know it's painful to talk about it, but can you share briefly what happened there?
So when I was, yes, around that age, I ended up going to a friend's from school, and we went to play manhunt, basically hide and seek in the dark. And we stumbled across a KKK, Ku Klux Klan. They were having a, I guess, ceremony, and it was just us. We were very young, and we stumbled upon this site where there were men dressed in their hoods. There was multiple different colored hoods, and there was a burning cross, and we saw a child being brought to a noose, and it was a kid that we went to school with, and we ended up seeing him being murdered.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that was part of the trauma that you experienced. We will talk a little more when in therapy, how did you deal with it? But the other part is when you came to Canada, you experienced also some bullying in the school. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I think because I had moved so many different places, I was different. So uh, I was white. I came to a very small, predominantly white town in Canada, but I had accents from North Carolina, from Grenada, and I had my hair different than everybody else. So it attributed to the kids seeing something different and not understanding, which then attributed to more of what I had already seen and dealt with, because of going from such different countries and places. But yeah, they mostly were making fun of me because of my look, my accent. I stood out, and it was very different for them, and it caused a lot of problems for me.
Mm. Okay. Now, what I remember from your story is although the traumatic experience happened when you were very young, for a number of years you repressed it, you did not remember because it was so painful. But you mentioned that your mother used to say that the drawings you made were very abnormal. Can you share that part?
So before North Carolina, like, and while in North Carolina, I was a straight A student. I would get awards, honor roll. I got the presidency's award from Bill Clinton, signed by Bill Clinton, and I was artistic to a point. And then when we moved to Canada after the North Carolina trauma, everything changed for me, and my art became very morbid. I was seeing things in my mind. I was having these nightmares, and I couldn't understand exactly where they were coming from. I would see a boy crying, and I would see fire, and and I guess the things that I was seeing and reliving unknowingly were coming out through my art, and it was a very difficult time. Would you like me to continue with the other symptoms at that time?
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So I started to hate the color of my skin. I couldn't understand why. When I was in a room filled with white people, I was very, very uncomfortable to the point of fear. I was very uncomfortable with white men, and I couldn't understand why. We would do different subjects in school, or I would see videos that were racially contextual, and I'd have this visceral negative feeling inside of me. And I was 16 at the time, and I thought I was going absolutely crazy. I was like, was I black in another lifetime? I couldn't understand why my own skin was revolting to me, why I was afraid of even my father at times, because I didn't, because I had repressed those memories. The memory that I had of what had happened in North Carolina was completely gone. And it was different things were happening to me while I was a teenager. I became suicidal. Then the bullying also caused me to become bulimic because I started to hate my body, hate myself. But yeah.
Yeah. You also had shared that because of the eating disorder, you had gained a lot of weight. What was the highest you had gone?
I had gone up to about 320 pounds.
Okay. Which is almost double than that what
Mhm.
later on you became. Okay. Uh, any share with the people your experience alongside repression? There was also the symptom of dissociation. Many people
Mhm.
do not understand or they have not witnessed or seen people suffering from dissociation. Can you share a little bit?
So I feel there are, I personally, I experienced different types of dissociation. There were times where, especially when I was a teenager, I had outer body experiences where I could see myself outside of myself, if that makes any sense, and it would scare me. I couldn't understand what was happening, and that was a lot more when I was a teenager. And then going into my 20s, I would lose time. I would lose hours, days, weeks where I would say, for example, I would be taking the bus somewhere and my brain would kind of shut off and I would end up in a completely different city, a completely different town. And I would wake up sometimes with people that I didn't think I had ever met, but I had become friends with these people within a week or so, and they had come to my home. They and I still to this day cannot remember how I got to these places, who they were prior, how I met them. And there would be times when, like in my own home, I would find myself, my phone, well, not cell phone, my home phone, in the freezer. I would find my butter in a closet. I would go through times where I, I, who I feel I am now, I was not there. So sometimes people would notice. A close friend of mine would be like, "Oh, Nicole came out," which is my other name, and I was a little bit different. So anybody really close to me could kind of tell, but many people couldn't. Or I would dissociate in the sense of I would I'd go catatonic. So my daughter when she was little, because I was in my 20s, and she would have to be, "Mommy, mommy, what's going on?" Very scary. Very scary time frame because it affects not only you as a person, but it affects your relationships. And until now, because there's people from high school, from school that talk to me about all these experiences that happened, and I don't remember any of it. And it is hard for some people unless I can explain to them. Now with therapy, I'm able to speak to them and explain to them that it's not they my their closest friend doesn't remember the important memories that they have. So it can be hard on relationships and straining.
Okay. Now you live with, you have your two daughters. So you mentioned that sometimes your daughters recognize when you are dissociating, and then they can bring to your attention that, "Mom, you forgot this, or you forgot that, or you put that by mistake." Can you share an experience of that nature?
Yeah, in general, this years ago, I'm a lot better now, but they will because of being able to come to therapy and explaining to them what's going on now that I've been educated and learning, I've been able to teach them so they can see the cues. Not only we use the green, red, and yellow in our life. So if they see me starting to dissociate, they would come and sit beside me and they'd be like, Mom, I can tell something's going on. Are you okay? What do you need? So it became a family. It's not an individual situation. It's a family situation. And they have had to learn how to work with me and my symptoms. And they've been a huge help. They've been a lifesaver, to be honest.
Okay, thank you. Now let's focus on therapy. Share with the group members today, how were you feeling? How distressed you were when you first came to see me and Betty Davis and came to the clinic, creative psychotherapy clinic? What were you dealing with at that time?
I was going through some of the typical symptoms, very, very depressed. I wasn't sleeping, nightmares, a lot of flashbacks. Again, the repression had so dissociation, the repression. I had seen another therapist prior to coming, and I told myself I would never see a therapist again. I was left with these memories that had been unlocked, and I was sent on my way with medication. And they said, "Good job. Keep writing a bit about it, and you're doing great," and gave me medication. And when I came to you, I was scared at first, but I pushed myself because I didn't know what to expect. But I was definitely at a 0, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I was in anguish. I wasn't living life. I was existing. For my kids, I was extremely suicidal, and I was having a very, very tough time being able to just live life and be a mom. I needed I needed the type of care and consideration and that was being provided by your clinic, definitely.
Okay. Now, in our clinic, as so some people know, Betty and I have been providing a combination therapy, individual therapy, family therapy, group therapy, and you experienced all of them. Share with us what were some of the things that helped you heal and recover.
I think the process it's the foundation of who I am today. I believe that, so we started with individual and then we brought my girls in, and I was able to teach them because I lost the ability to speak. My brain was affected deeply, and so I would stutter and I couldn't have a conversation. So I was able to learn through individual and then being able to bring my children into it, how to actually communicate, to be able to take the words that were in my mind out my mouth again, being able to not stutter constantly, crying constantly. And it helped my kids be able to see. We brought my daughters came in, and with all the turtles, my youngest daughter especially, she loved her turtle library, and she came and felt very accepted, and she wanted to learn. So when
She
I
she
would,
used to she used to borrow one turtle and return
yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she ended up breaking one by accident one time, and she drew made a card and drew Dr. Sohail's face, and she said, "I'm so sorry for breaking your turtle." And she was like 4 or 5. She was very
Yeah,
young at the time. But
yeah,
yeah, it was a very good experience, and it was good because then I could teach them, because I was very emotionally regulated and irregular. Like, I was not regulated,
yeah.
dysregulated at the time, and I was able to teach them by saying, I'm in the yellow or I'm in the red, and they're like, okay, leave mom alone for a little bit because mom needs to take care of whatever she needs to take care of. And then they started using it themselves. So it really helped. They knew the different tactics that helped me. So one of them, I still always carry it to get myself to not dissociate. I used to do it all the time. I would take an elastic and I would try to go like this all the time to try to
To,
keep
to,
myself
to,
grounded. And then they started to bring that in themselves and be like, Mom, you need to whatever. But then it went from them to I was doing group therapy, which was a tremendous experience, is a tremendous experience. And then I even brought my parents in. And I think that was probably one of the biggest turning points in my life because my parents and I did not have a good relationship. Emotional. And I'm very, very grateful that the clinic doesn't just look at the individual patient. They realize that everybody in our lives are affected by whatever we are going through. For myself, it was trauma. And it affected my relationships with friends, with men, with my parents. And until my parents came into even their first appointment, my parents just, what's wrong with you? Get on medication. Just, this isn't going fast enough. Dr. Sohail was able to see what they were feeling and thinking and be able to address the situation even in that very first appointment with them, that we went home and they saw me in a completely different light and they saw themselves. And now we're at a point where they have apologized tremendously for how they had treated me through my life, not understanding. And they have said that yes, psychotherapy has taken some time, but it's worth it. And they see all of the changes in me, and they're very grateful for me being a part of the clinic and being able to go through the therapy that I've had.
okay. Since you have done so much work and there's so many aspects to your healing, I'll just focus on two or three parts. First is the eating issue and your weight. So share with the group where you started, how much did you weigh, and then how much did you lose?
So I was around 320 pounds. And I said, like, I had black hair, long black hair, and very to myself. And now I ended up going to 155 pounds. And I say it wasn't just weight that I've lost. It was the weight of all the garbage and trauma that I've been able to release through therapy to be able to get to that point and focus on myself and learn self-care and self-love.
Okay. Second part is your self-esteem. Share with us how did your self-esteem change?
Tremendously. I was very, very depressed. I stayed in my house. I hardly moved. And I felt unworthy of love. I felt um as I felt like I was a waste of skin for many, many, many years. I know that that's wrong now. I was able to get to a point through therapy, through my creativity, through poetry, to be able to listen to Bet and Dr. Sohail and the group and realize that I am worthy of living. I'm worthy of love, and I don't have a hatred for myself anymore. So that's huge.
Thank you. That also changed your relationship with men, and there were people that you could relate to in a more constructive way. Share
Yeah.
a little bit of that.
I'm able to actually have really good relationships. I don't see race in the same way that I used to. And even I was in a relationship with a white man, which was completely opposite to what I could handle. Even I didn't have the fear. I felt safe with that person for 7 years, and I'm able to see certain things and be able to rationalize, be able to realize that it's the emotional connection that I was having towards certain situations was because of my trauma. So one thing that a big thing I did for a long time was affirmations. So my entire bedroom, I would put, I am safe, I am strong. My story isn't over yet. And I would use that on a regular basis when interacting with men, with different situations that I had been in. I've done a lot of internal mental psychological work in order to realize that um, the situation that I was in at that time, I'm no longer there anymore. The poetry really helped as well, and I ended up returning back to North Carolina, and doing that as well, being able to be told that it wasn't a dream, it was reality, it did happen. And learning that not all white people, including myself, are horrible people. Not all white men are horrible.
Thank you. Somebody asked Sigmund Freud that what is the definition of a healthy, mentally healthy person? He said a mentally healthy person can love and can work. So alongside loving, you also went back to work. Share
Yeah.
with us about that.
That was a huge experience for me. I went on disability because of my symptoms were very severe. For a very long time, I was on disability. I could not work, and I've gotten to the point where I've been working now for almost 3 years. The beginning was not easy. I work at a Costco, so there's a lot of people that come around, a lot of men, a lot of situations. I will say there were really hard days where there were fire alarms going off, and it would trigger me. And there was a moment at the beginning of me working where I hid underneath a table. So I still go through situations, but rather than not, it sounds funny, but I enjoy having triggers now because I've learned so many things that when I get triggered, I'm able to get out of it. I'm able to use the education that I've learned through all the therapy that I've gotten, that I can now, instead of being triggered and having the effects for months, it might last a couple days or a couple of hours, and I can use all of these tools that I've learned. So I'm now very comfortable at work. I feel safe at work, even though there's tons of people and tons of situations and sounds and that. And I'm doing really well. I'm loving it. I have a very good relationship with people there. They actually just asked me to work at a different location because they knew I'd be able to help, and I'm able to take what I've learned, and I'm helping others in different aspects. So anybody that talks to me knows that I've learned things with therapy, and they, on my lunch breaks, they now come to me, hey, I'm dealing with this. So I'm able to still take the things that I've gone through and now make it into a positive and have a fulfilling life, definitely, and let my daughters see that no matter what you go through, you can be successful in life and enjoy and love life as well.
Okay. Now you had written something that you wanted to share with the group. Do you have that?
Yes, I have to get it on my phone. One second. So this was before I went to North Carolina. This was during while we were working through this trauma. So I wrote this piece of poetry. I said, the flames, the tears, the fear, the horror, the pain. I don't want to be here. I didn't speak. I didn't breathe. I stood frozen in time. I'm sorry. I don't want to be here. I was so scared. I am so scared. This little girl inside of me just can't let go. She wishes she did something. What? I don't know. All I know is I don't want to be here. Is this reality or a sick dream? I can't breathe, I can't sleep, I just want to scream. What kind of world do we live in when they took you because when they only took you because of the color of your skin? I watched silently as your life was taken. I did nothing. I regret it every day. I sit here shivering, teeth chattering, body shaking. Please, someone take me away. I don't want to be here. I didn't speak. I didn't breathe. I stood frozen in time. I'm sorry. I don't deserve to be here. So I just wanted to share that being able to be creative and being able to get that out was one stepping stone to actually being able to go back to North Carolina and be within that area, and I've healed tremendously and I can go now without all of those triggers bothering me anymore.
Okay. Before we end, any suggestion you have for people who have experienced trauma, who have gone through those difficult times with your, because I've seen you grow. I think, Betty, we all seen you grow, from a very vulnerable, fragile, struggling young lady to a very sort of strong, powerful, artistic, productive, helping others, so all those things, so you have gone through that experience, and all this, these webinars are to give people hope that they can get better. So if you have to make one suggestion to other people who are struggling, what would you say?
Don't give up and do whatever you have to keep going. Your story isn't over yet. This is just one of my traumas. I've been through many, and I've been able to find the resource that works for you. There's a lot of people that feel that I went to therapy, it didn't work. I saw a therapist, it didn't work. Timing, the therapist, and the type of therapy all matter very, very much, and you are worth it. Whatever you're feeling, however low you get, I promise you, you're worth it, and you can enjoy life again, because I am. And it's not something I thought. Going back to work was not something I thought, and my children get to see me happy. So please don't give up.
Okay. Thank you. I know it's not easy, but I'm glad you got the courage and the strength to share. Now I'll go ask other people to have their comments, and later on they might ask you if they want to ask you some questions. So stay with us and see what others have to say. So let me start with Betty, because Betty, alongside me, have seen you grow and sort of heal and recover. So I'll ask Betty if she would start the discussion. Betty Davis.
Hi, Shannon. Thank you so much for sharing. Beautifully done. Just beautifully done. It has been a privilege to be part of your journey. And courageous is probably it's one of the words that I use to describe many of the people that heal through this journey. But you've demonstrated so much courage through this process, and you surprised me so many times that after a while it became something that I felt confident as much as there was another trauma, because the traumas that you talked about in childhood happened a long time ago, but the traumas continued. And so, as you're healing from the childhood traumas, then you are also encouraging current traumas, and they activate the old memories, they activate the old symptoms, and they in a way they make many people paralyzed. They then can't use they are learning things, but they can't use the techniques that they learned. They feel unable to speak, unable to function, unable to be in the present moment. And so one of the things that I admired about you was that you did have those setbacks and you did get stuck, but at some point it didn't take you too long when you were like you were again engaged in the process. Again, like you picked up where you left off and again began to build on that that big selection of that the toolkit that you have. You have a massive toolkit. And I love that. You said I enjoy having triggers now. That sounds so much like you. That sounds so much like you. That's Shannon. If Sohail said to me, who said that? Shannon. Because as a survivor of abuse myself, I appreciate that concept. Like, I know it sounds a bit strange, but the experience that you have, the things that you learn as a result of those traumas, they're amazing and they're life changing and they give you this incredible strength. So all of those things that you have buried inside of you, all of that beauty and that creativity and that artistry, all of those things came out despite the abuse and sometimes because of the abuse. You become you embrace with this attitude and you did the hell with this. I'm going to do this anyway. And they're not going to stop me. And it was so incredibly admirable to see you do make all of those changes. And what I acquired after a while was, yeah, Shannon is stuck, but she's just going to do it. And that is what I believe about you now. Some like us all, life will give you something that never saw that before, never dealt with that before, don't know how to do that. But I have this toolkit and I have these things and I'm going to help me, I'm going to help my family, and I'm going to help others. And that is something that is so strange because I became a therapist because of my abuse. So it's a very strange gift in a way. And you have taken that experience and you have you've just done a beautiful job of being able to take something horrible and make something beautiful from it. So thank you so much for sharing this morning. I remember when you came to the clinic, you were obviously and horrifically in pain. And thank you so much for that. So, Hale, can I share a little bit about, thank you, Shannon. Can I share a little bit about PTSD? Did
Sure.
you want, are you okay if I do that?
Yeah,
Um,
go ahead.
Okay. So when I began working with people who were sexually, emotionally, and physically abused, I noticed 4 emotional and behavioral patterns that appeared fairly consistently in their lives. At that time, I didn't see this material reflected very much in the literature. And as Sohail has been saying, and we've been talking about, the information about PTSD has developed. At one time, we didn't see childhood trauma as PTSD. So those 4 things that I noticed were boundaries, trust, self-worth, and shame. I found that addressing those issues in therapy really made a difference to people's wellness and their sense of empowerment. So let me touch a little bit on each thing. Boundaries are often the invisible physical, emotional, and mental limits people set to define what is safe, comfortable, and acceptable for them in relationships. When somebody has been sexually, emotionally, physically violated, these limits are fractured and the person finds it challenging to implement them. It becomes difficult to simply say no, to request that somebody respect your personal space. In more complex situations, the abused person takes on responsibilities for others that are not theirs. They even rescue people from situations that are not theirs. So let me share an example of this young woman who came to see me in therapy. And she said that the boundary issues were the reason why she sought therapy, and she shared this as one of the experiences of her boundary challenges. So she said her neighbor had backed into her fence with his ATV. So they had smaller backyards, large fences, and he had backed into a part of her fence trying to turn his ATV around and had knocked the fence down partway. She didn't know what to do about that. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to handle it, so she didn't. And as he moved around in his backyard, he kept backing into the fence to the point where that piece of the fence was flat, and he just drove over it. He would drive from his backyard over that piece of fence into her backyard, and she still didn't know what to do about it. She was delighted in doing the work. And one of the phrases that we came up with, I don't know if it's a world saying, but I was in Newfoundland at the time, and we would say, fences make good neighbors. And so the first time I said that to her, she laughed so much that the tears ran down her face. And it became her saying about all kinds of boundaries that she was dealing with. Fences make good neighbors. The other issue is trust. The issue of broken trust is so incredibly intriguing to me, because what I noticed is that it is rather cyclical. So what happens is that someone meets a new person, and for some unknown reason, they would trust that person. After some time, it would turn out that they should not have trusted that person. Consequently, they felt embarrassed, they felt ashamed about that decision. And the next time that they would meet a new person, they became very suspicious and untrustworthy of that person. Then, as they got to know that person, they found them to be quite trustworthy. And then they would berate themselves for being so hard. And I remember one lady saying to me, he didn't deserve that. He was so sweet. So then she felt really embarrassed and ashamed of having made that decision. Then the next time that they meet a new person, of course, they trust them. Well, then you know what happens. The cycle continues. They did not understand that they could identify whether or not somebody was trustworthy, and that part of therapy and part of the journey of establishing trust is part of establishing a healthy relationship. The other piece is self-worth. The violations associated with abuse result in people having a sense of low self-esteem, low self-worth. The central piece to this behavior pattern is often that the abused individual remembers the negative and critical statements of the abuser and believes them and repeats them in their own inner dialogue, in their own self-talk. The abuser doesn't need to even be in their lives anymore. Sometimes the abuser can be dead, but they still have done the damage, and that dialogue continues in that person's head for years and sometimes all of their lives. Finally, the lack of control that comes with these three different psychological or coping mechanisms that I talked about, not necessarily coping mechanisms, but behavior patterns. The final piece that is associated with these three behaviors, or what comes out of them, leads to a feeling of shame. Deep shame is very often common during and after abuse. Feeling unworthy of love and respect, feeling that your thoughts, your decisions, even your very person is never good enough. These are the underlying dynamics of deep shame. People who have been abused try to be good enough by being perfect, by people pleasing, but that is also never enough. And in therapy, they appreciate who they are. They learn to appreciate who they are supposed to be. So Shannon, that's what Shannon talked about. She learned, and she is learning who Shannon is, not who somebody told her she was, who actually she is, who her beauty is, who her creativity is. And then when they learn to that they learn to behave and think and feel as the person that they actually are. And that's the beauty of this journey and of therapy. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
everybody. Looking forward to hearing what everybody else has got to say. And thanks again, Shannon.
Thank you, Betty, for sharing your in insights and your sort of feedback. Thank you. So let me go to Summer. I know Summer had a lot of family responsibilities, but she took some time to be with us. So I really appreciate that. So, Summer, any comments you would like to make?
Thank you, Sohail Saab. Uh, okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining today. I would especially thank you, Sohail Saab, for explaining PTSD in detail. Lots of learning. And later, Betty, you explained the behavior patterns in a very easy and simple way, which is also a lot of learning for me. Thank you so much for going into details. I would thank you also, Brendan, for sharing that painful experience. And I am glad that she got some kind of closure, because in trauma, sometimes we get closure and sometimes we don't. And we have to make peace with ourselves with the help of therapy. So I'm happy for her. The For Brendan. I'm also thankful for Sharon, who discussed her story in detail today. I being in a school setup, I work as a special educator and community mental health counselor with children and youth. So this is my work, to work with the children and every day, and helping them to overcome or develop some coping strategies to deal with the traumatic experiences in their lives. Um, so what I was listening very when I was listening Shannon, I could relate every single thing she said, because this exactly happens to the children. And I was very happy in a way that she found her way through art, expressing her way through art. For example, how do I explain it, that why art is so important? um, Children who does not have enough development of speech in till some certain age, even they are in elementary school and their middle school or high school years as well. So music or art or the extracurricular activities actually are the tools to bypass the whole speech system and still allow them to express themselves, which is the beauty of art. So I heard Shannon saying that when she was going through so much pain, she was expressing herself through art. This association we see in everyday life as well. Um, One of my student under my care uh, was a refugee. His family was a refugee from Syria, and we saw that he was stealing food from other children's backpacks, and could not figure out that why he is doing, because he had his lunch bag, but he was keep going to the hallway and stealing food from other children and eating. He was sleeping in the classroom while like his eyes were open like a absent seizure. He was sitting and attending the class, but felt like he was not there present. And when teacher later used to ask him um, any question, he was like blank. So it was perceived as acting out, as Dr. Sohail said in the beginning, that children's behavior perceived, unfortunately, as an acting out. Behavior is a form of communication. So um, the children or youth or adults who experience traumas, they are they exhibit the symptoms of trauma through their behaviors. So If I sum up quickly, I would say that in one line that our pain has a relationship with us. How we treat our pain with the therapy, with the help. I'm going to focus more on that, how therapy helps. On the how we treat our help with the help of therapy, it matters a lot. How I am understanding the event, how I'm understanding my pain, the causes and the effects, and then how I, with the help of therapy, gain some tools and deal with my pain. As dealing with our pain with compassion and love is very important. When we start learning to deal with our pain with love and kindness, we become kind and compassionate to ourselves. Thank you so much, Sohail.
Yeah. Thank you, Samar, for sharing your thoughts and your insights as a sort of a special experience with children. So thank you. Next is Zahra Naqvi. Would you like to share some of your thoughts, Zahra?
Thank you, Sultan. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, I would like to say that I would um, I will start thanking the volunteers and organization of organizing the Naaye Khwaab for putting together such a meaningful seminar, which I'm experiencing right now. It's wonderful. Also really appreciate Khalid Sohail and Betty Davis' presence in our lives as teachers of psychotherapy. And I especially want to thank Shannon for her courage in sharing her childhood trauma with us. It gave all of us a rare and honest window into what I actually feels like to live with PTSD, what actually feels living with the PTSD. What struck me most reading her story was realizing partway through that the boy who was killed in that traumatic experience wasn't a stranger to her. So when I read the story, I didn't get that. And today, when I was hearing Shannon, I realized that, and it hit me a lot that he was her uh, school fellow, someone she knew. That detail added a lot of additional layer to the trauma for me, and it made the weight of what she carried even more real. She also spoke about how suppressing her memories uh, is the hardest parts of living with the PTSD, and shared this idea. And I love that the sharing that idea of enjoying the triggers, using them as an opportunity to practice emotional regulation. That really resonate with me. There is something powerful in that reference. When you can meet a trigger with that kind of intentional regulation instead of being overwhelmed by it, you come away with the real sense of emotional confidence. And that's priceless. Thank you, Shannon, for trusting us with your story. And thank you for everyone who made today possible. In the end, I would like to add that denial is my favorite type of defense mechanism. I used to say to my own therapist that I'm queen of denial. Though I learned that denial most of the time saves us from the hurt we are unable to deal. So until a human being is not ready to see things clearly, we should not burst their bubble, and we should be very careful telling them the reality, and we should be patient with them and give them time to go through their own process of healing. That's all I
Okay.
wanted to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zahra, for joining us both times and giving your feedback. I think you are part of the team that we are trying to give sort of meaningful feedback to the seminar. Thanks. Now, I saw earlier that Ritesh Rohan, because I can only see one screen. If Ritesh is there, then maybe he can give some brief feedback to Ritesh. Are you there? Can you see Ritesh Rohan? No. Okay, maybe if he's not there, maybe I'll ask Dr. Santosh
Ritesh is
Kamarani.
there.
Yeah.
Ritesh is there.
Okay. Ritesh, we can't hear you. You're, you're, maybe you can unmute
You hear
yourself.
me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Okay, go ahead,
Okay.
Ritesh. And just before you give the feedback, I want to tell the group that Ritesh will be our next guest. So next month we will hear Ritesh's story as an immigrant and the struggles and the challenges that immigrants face, not only as lay people but also as doctors. So he will be our special guest next week. So Ritesh, any comment you want to make about today's Shannon story?
Yes, Dr. Sohail. So I just thank you, Shannon, for sharing. It was very courageous for you to go through the experience and also share it with us. So thank you so much for that. And as my contribution to this, I think I want to draw on some technical aspects and recent things that we have learned about PTSD, and also related to the experiences that you shared as a learning experience for all of us to know the technical details, but also the narration behind the technical details. Some of the things that the technical aspects we can ignore it, but then the story of how it functions, I thought it was important to share. And recently, and this is only in 2026, very recent, that they've divided PTSD now into fear-based and emotional pain-based. So they've categorized it into two based on how people subjectively experience things. So fear-based meaning it's very visceral, physical, and emotional. It's more so to do with introspection and how they feel internally, as the name suggests. But there are different brain regions responsible for certain functioning, and then how these phenotypes or these types function. And some have, everybody belongs to a spectrum, and some face it physically and some have emotional aspects. So one of the things in physical aspects would be a region in your emotional center, the limbic system being amygdala, where its function is basically to see if something's a threat or not. And it's very hyperactive in this state. So anything that's even not a threat would seemingly feel viscerally like a threat. So amygdala is very hyperactive at this moment. And another and we all know this, even who people who are not doctors, the general public also knows that there's an executive function that the brain does, the front area, the frontal area. It's called the prefrontal cortex, and then it's basically responsible for executive function. And then interestingly, as you go further down, when that meets the emotional center, there's a specific part called the ventromedial part of the front prefrontal cortex, meaning the executive function, but closer to the emotional center. It basically regulates the emotion. So it understands logically what's happening and then also engages with the emotion and then says, hey, don't worry, we're safe. Things are going to be okay because there's no threat. So that functioning gets affected. So you don't know if that threat is existing now or not. So it feels like now you're in danger right now, and then your body reacts to that. And then interestingly, another part, like different regions as they have their own functions. The top part would be your motor functions, the movement, and everything's responsible for the movement. And then interestingly, as you come below the movement part, it relates to the emotional center and the movement. And that's where your freeze and immediate running and all those movements in relation to emotions, fright, and also freezing and running away kind of comes into the picture. So the part that's responsible for the emotion and the movement kind of gets in these times dysregulated. It's not regulating it properly. So it doesn't know. That's why people have that visceral sensation even when there's no threat. It doesn't regulate it clearly, so they viscerally feel it. So this is the fear aspect, the physical aspect of PTSD they've figured out. And then comes the emotional aspect. In the emotional aspects, there's something called the default mode network, and it's basically a network because it's network of brain regions, and limbic system being the most inside of it. And specifically, default mode network functionally, what it does is it's basically our autobiographical memory. It's responsible for our autobiographical memory, the sense of self and who we are as a person, and everything that we think about ourselves. In this PTSD situation, it will almost feel like you have locked into this rumination loop, and it happens to be negative. That's why you feel guilt, shame, self-blame. It reinforces that, and you ruminate in this. And the default mode network dysregulation happens in PTSD and makes you feel this way. And then comes another part, insula. Insula is basically, you have those gut feeling, like someone walks into the room and you're like, this person is a threat, this person is someone I like, that gut feeling is translated into emotions. So insula translates this gut feeling. The gut feeling could be, let's say, love for someone. It could be just fear of something or being anxious or something. So your emotional processing of that gut feeling you feel, that is dysregulated and almost always feels negative in PTSD. So that's why you feel that gut feeling. And it also internalizes to a point where you just feel this deep sense of visceral emptiness, emotionally speaking, because of this part being dysregulated. And also, there's another part where there's like an alarm bell where the anterior cingulate cortex is basically alarm saying that if there's a social or an emotional pain occurring, and these kind of light up during grief and rejection and emotional pain when we go through. So it also tells you if there's a conflict happening. And if you don't know, or if your brain does not understand that there's no conflict happening, then all the negative reactions kind of come in, and it also works along with the insula, the default mode network, and you just emotionally feel really, really bad, and it weighs down on you. So some people have shades of more emotion oriented, and then some people have physical oriented. And then another thing that's related to your story, Shannon, the memories that you were talking about, the dissociative aspects. Functionally, there could be many parts involved, but then one of the things that I was thinking about as you were sharing your story is the hippocampus. So hippocampus is also
You,
functionally
you,
responsible
you,
for
you
memory.
you have 1 minute left for you.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay.
So it's responsible for memory and then storing of memory long term too. That's why you've lost some immediate as well as long term memories. And more cortisol shrinks that area. And if it shrinks, it's functionally declining. So psychotherapy engages with every aspect of it and gives it time to process and slowly recovers to a point where you are not viscerally reacting but actually responding to each of it. So I just wanted to give a story of that so that it'll be interesting to follow and also be aware of it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Ritesh. And we will look forward to next month to listen to your own personal story and struggles. Thank you, Ritesh. I think since we want to hear more people, so I will request the feedback to be shorter so that we can have more. We will have Dr. Kamrani, then we will go to Dr. Nazir Hussain, and then we'll go to Umar Farooq. So let's have some short feedback from Dr. Santosh Kamrani. Kamrani Saab.
Thank you very much. I'm audible?
Yeah, you're good. Go ahead. Yeah, you're fine. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Dr. Sohail, first of all, thank you very much. And especially Naaye Khwaab team, Muqaddas Majid, who provided us this opportunity to learn a lot uh, from the various aspects of the psychology and psychotherapy and whatnot. Here, uh, I have no comment, but two little questions from Shannon that how long it took from her first incident of trauma, that murder, to reach to Dr. Khalid Sohail, and second, how long it took for you, Shannon, from first day of at Dr. Sohail's clinic to your and your transformation. These are very important because uh, uh, it will tell the audience that how long a patient can suffer and for how long it can take for transformation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Kamrani. Uh, Shannon, go ahead. You can answer that briefly. Shannon.
So the questions I heard, my phone cut out, but was the very first trauma, I was 12. And I saw Dr. Sohail for the first time, I believe I was in my mid 20s, mid 20s, almost in my 30s. And I would say the transformation after being with Dr. Sohail, I've been with Dr. Sohail over a decade now. And I would say that I started transforming um, my life. Oh, probably a couple years in where I finally was starting to get somewhere, well, 2 to 3 years, but it has taken me to be at my stage now. It's where I'm truly living life and and experience happiness and being successful. I would say that it's been, I can't even remember fully, Dr. Sohail. It's been over a decade for sure. I feel that I could have say gone back to work per se, but not properly healed and not be able to do it well only a few years in, but by continuing the therapy, I'm actually at a place now, about a decade in, where I'm living life fully.
Okay. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you. Next is Dr. Nazir Hussain. He has joined us for the first time. So maybe if he would share briefly his comments. Nazir Hussain Saab.
Thank you very much. I feel honored in the company of kind, compassionate, and courageous people. And I am impressed by the quality of sharing of Shannon, Bernine, and the sharing of Betty Davis, and the way you conducted. And basically, when people talk about how much time it will take, practically, the progress and growth is not a linear process. It is a spiral. So it is a phase wise, it takes time. And when we talk about the problem, when we share, when we process our emotions, feelings, and experience, then our growth is accelerated. So I'm thankful in the company of such a nice and kind people and creative people. And you are not only raising the level of awareness, you are also raising the level of hope. So this is wonderful. And I have a lot of appreciation for this talk and for trust and arranging everything. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Nazir Saab. Those people who don't know, Nazir Hussain has a PhD. He is sort of a specialist. He has worked as a social worker in different organizations, taught in many universities, colleges, and we are very happy that he is becoming part of our team. Thank you, Nazir Saab. Thank you very much.
Thank
Now
you.
there's a student in Pakistan. I don't know whether he is there with us today. Omar Farooq. Omar Farooq, are you there? And if you're there, please share your thoughts. Umar Farooq. No, no, Umar Farooq. Okay. Uh, so there are a few others. I think Sara Ali is there today. Is Sara Ali, would you like to make any comment, a brief comment about what you heard today? Sara Ali?
Thank you, Dr. Saab. Um, Sorry, my camera is not working. I don't know why. But to be honest, I have no words because when I read that story and all the stories in Creative Birth, I used to imagine the people who wrote those stories. And when I read that story, I imagined the writer. And today, when I was hearing that story, to be honest, I could feel the chills in my body. But I am really very, I'm so happy to see the way. she has overcame all those obstacles, and the the thing that will stay with me is when the Bati said that not it's not only about one trauma, it's about the life is throws so many traumas, so many obstacles at you, and the best part is that you learn how to overcome it. And I'm so happy. And to be honest, all those people who think that therapy is a one time process, I can just tell you that for so many years I went to so many doctors and told them that I'm experiencing this shortness of breath symptom, and they gave me anti-allergic. And to experiencing those PTSD symptoms and having anti-allergics and going to work in a hospital setting was a challenge in itself. And before meeting Dr. Sohail and going through all those stories, I never realized that what I went through myself. And I'm so happy to hear this story of truly human resilience and strength to overcome all these obstacles and difficulties. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Now, some of the faces I can see, one of them is Farah. I know she's not on the official list, but I would like Farah if she would make some comment about what she heard today. Farah.
Good day, friends. Thank you, Dr. Sohail. I wasn't expecting to speak. I've been part of this creative psychotherapy myself. I am in the creative birth, but not under my official name. My name is Joy in the book. I'm just sharing that slowly with people. Um, it's amazing how I'm a healthcare provider. I'm a registered nurse myself, and I've been teaching at colleges and universities with nursing students and PSW students, and it's amazing how much um, trauma and how much burden, how much burden people are carrying silently on their own. And for me, it's important that we have these conversations openly and be able to share. It takes a lot of courage to share your personal story. And I know myself, I can't share everything with everybody all the time, but I do share as I gain that trust with somebody that I do share with people. So I think we need to how do you say, there's 31 people in this call. We need to have more of these circles so that people are really learning about mental health. And I think in my story, I also wrote that this type of therapy needs to be taught to medical students and to other healthcare providers, because that's something that's missing in our society. Thank you again so very much for sharing your stories, both Bernie and Shannon. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Farah. I also see Uzma Aziz. Uzma, would you like to share your comments about this seminar today? Uzma.
Dr. Sir, thank you so much. Shannon, I have a question. From where we can find your artwork? Is it on Instagram? Because I have noted down uh, Cindy words, nuggets of wisdom from all this conversation. So I want to find more about your poems, your artwork.
Dr. Sohail has been asking me to put it all together.
Okay.
So maybe eventually. I mean, there's a couple of pieces. I did a YouTube interview with Dr. Sohail on Words of Wisdom with Dr. Sohail, and I did show a couple of pieces of my artwork, but it is something that I have been thinking about, is putting together more of a book and putting in my artwork and my poetry as well. So yeah, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Uzma. I think Bernadine, if she's back, because we lost you on the screen, so I shared with the group about the person getting 5-year sentence. So Bernadine, if you're there, if you want to make another comment, you're welcome. Bernadine.
Yeah, so as I was saying, it did take 8 years to get to this point, and although there were three people who were involved in the robbery, only one of them did uh, have a sentence. So, um, and again, Dr. Sohail has expressed that the justice system is more a legal system and not really a justice system. So I've been living in some sort of a jail myself in my personal life for almost 8 years, and this fellow is going to get 5 years less what time has been served or whatever. So it's a bit disheartening. One of the people in my group asked, when will closure happen for you and what does that look like? So that's something that I am processing right now to come to terms with. And although I feel like I'm in a very healed place, just this week leading up to the anniversary date, unconsciously, my body was experiencing a lot of trauma and a lot of shakiness and sleepless nights. And I couldn't really place it and put it together until I realized the dates and the times. So it is something that is long lasting. However, like Shannon, um, a part of me is joyful when these triggers occur and I'm able to draw from my resources and from my toolbox and work myself through it and, regulate my emotions and my attachment to that trauma. So, again, wanted to thank everybody. And you're such a wonderful group of very educated, warm, dedicated people. And that our stories can be heard and other stories can be heard, and then have something positive and constructive come from this, and for people to apply what we've shared to help their patients and the people in their practices or those who they come in contact with who are suffering from what we are, to be more compassionate, opening, and understanding. So thank you again.
Thank you, Bernadine. So let me go back to Mukaddas. Mukaddas, are you there? And I would like, because
Dr.
you are
Suhail.
not only a host, but I'd shared that you are also are very educated in personal and social psychology. So I would like you to make your own comments about Shannon's story, and then you can take over and see if other people want to make any comments about today. Then we can open it
Sure,
to.
Dr.
So
Suhail.
Shannon, you go ahead. Oh, Mukaddas, sorry. Mukaddas, you go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Suhail. Somewhere I read that wound is something where the light enters. So I could see this thing in Shannon's story as well. And the brilliant part of her story to me was the creative way by which she channelized the pain that she was going through. She channelized through that through creative means by producing, by creating art. So that is the most beautiful part of Shannon's story to me. And when she mentions that after going through this healing process, she met the more, the better version of herself, her true self. So I think that's very appreciable. And also, I think all of our experts, they have said a lot of points earlier which were in my mind. So I'm not going to repeat that information again. Also, if we have any other questions, let me see the chat box so that I can put them in front of Dr. Suhail and Shannon so that they can address them. Dear participants, if you have any other questions, please raise your hands or put them in the chat box so that we can address them.
Mukaddas, is it possible now that your camera could be on or still not possible?
Dr. Suhail, I'm trying it. Also, I'm
No.
trying not to disrupt the smooth
Oh,
running of the session.
sure.
That's why
Okay.
I'm keeping it
Sure.
off.
Okay. Okay.
I
No
think
problem.
we do not have any questions in the chat box. These are some general comments. Just one question by Dr. Santosh Kamrani, which I think Shannon has already addressed. He's asking about the duration of the therapy that she had with you that
Yeah.
that led to her transformation, and Shannon has already mentioned its answer. So, if there is not any other question, we can conclude this dialogue.
Yeah.
What do you think,
And
Dr. Suhail?
yeah, and next month we will have
I
Ritesh
think
Rohan.
Shannon has raised her hand.
Okay, Shannon, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Shannon, any final
One thing.
comment?
Just one thing that's been coming up in my mind throughout this, I feel that when you've experienced, especially the dissociation and the repression, I had a hatred for my brain. So I went through years of being angry with my brain, not understanding what's going on. But psychotherapy has taught me that my brain was protecting me through everything that I was going through. It was actually a protection, and I've learned to have a loving relationship with my own brain and mind. And I actually really appreciated Ritesh and all the information that you gave, because it's given me that extra little bit so that it's to be able to understand more. But just somebody, anybody that's out there that watches this, it may feel like your mind is working against you, but I promise it's just protecting you for when you are actually ready to be able to handle the traumas that you have been through.
Okay, thank you. So next month when we have Ritesh, so just to prepare you people mentally, that we will be focusing on the struggles of immigrants. So I think whatever your experience, it could be from a small town, a village to a big city, from one big city to another big city, from one part of the country to another, one part of the world to another, where you face different culture, different language, different rules and regulations, some fair, some unfair, some just, some unjust. And I think Ritesh has been struggling. So we will sort of share, he will share his story, and then you people can have. So we are switching from the two people with PTSD to some of other life experiences, because these seminars or these webinars, I want to gradually broaden the horizon so that many sort of a human condition, any life struggle, some we identify and some we don't. So I just want to thank you all and then welcome you for the next month.
Sultan,
Eh,
Sultan,
yeah,
there are
yeah,
two hands there. One is Bunny, and then yeah,
okay.
there are
Okay.
two hands there. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Bernadine, you want to say something?
Yeah, Bernadine. Yeah.
Unmute myself. I also wanted to let people know because during the first session, because it was a smaller period of time, we did not, Dr. Sohail and I didn't get to cover everything of the story. And so I did submit a written version of it. If anybody wanted to access that written version,
Yeah.
they could contact me and also, or Dr. Sohail. And also, I did want to thank Bet for putting things in a very symptomatic way that outlined, a lot of the symptoms and a lot of underlying issues that I've dealt with boundaries, trust, self worth, and shame. Thank you
Hmm.
for putting it in such a
Okay.
good bullet point.
Yeah. And Bernadine, if you give your blessing to Mukaddas, then Mukaddas can put you the story that you sent it to her. She can share with the bigger audience. You're okay
Okay.
with that? Yeah, okay,
Okay.
good. So there's
All
a family of Zubair Khwaja, Eden, and Huma. Any of them wants to make any comment? I see hand raised by Zubair Khwaja. Zubair Saab, go ahead.
Doctor, I have a couple of questions. Can I email you the questions?
You can email me, but the questions for me or for Shannon?
I have questions for you, but these are questions for the next session.
Oh, for the next session. Okay.
Yes.
Sure, you can send me an email and I'll
Yes.
see what you like to share. But any comment you want to make for today and Shannon's story?
No, no, Doctor. Thank you.
No? Any comment that Eden or Homa wants to make? No? Okay, go ahead. So back to Mukaddas. Mukaddas, you go ahead. Any comment you see?
I think Dr. Santosh Kamrani is asking Bernadine to share that story with us so that we
Yeah,
can circulate it among our participants and share that on social media with her consent.
sure.
And that too, Dr. Suhail has mentioned earlier. Other than that, I cannot see any other comment.
Sure.
So
Okay.
we can conclude this dialogue.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you very much, everybody. And I think maybe Betty and Zahra and Summer and Muqaddas, a few people can stay behind for a couple of minutes. So I just want to. Good. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much,
Just
everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Thank you.
Just very
Thank
quickly, I just wanted to mention that I am Phoenix in the creative birth. So my story is also in that creative birth, but it's under a different name. So just if anybody wanted to read it.
Thank you, Shannon, because I searched half the night looking and I'm going, where's Shannon's story?
I'm Phoenix with a funny spelling.
Okay, awesome. I'll look forward to reading it today.
You are not alone. Me too. I've been when she was telling her story, I was searching it in the book.
I know it was.
Dr. Saf, Huma wants to say something.
Huma, go ahead. Huma, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Shannon, for sharing your story. And I want to mention uh, what Zara said was really, really important, that we should not burst the bubble when the person is not ready for that. We should wait, and um, that is really important, because that, I think, that makes things worse. So I just wanted to mention that it's a very important point Zara shared. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Okay.
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And we're looking forward to see you next month. And Muqaddas's team, the Muqaddas team is very efficient, and I really appreciate all the list of participants and providing the link, and also making the recording and putting it on YouTube. Thank you, everybody. All the best.
What is the date next month?
Next month, let me see.
September 9th.
6th or 30th.
Yeah, I think it's September 13th. Struggles of immigrants, and Ritesh will be in focus. September 13th.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. Goodbye. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Shannon.
I see Bernardine's face too. Okay. Is Betty there, or she has left?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
You here?
So
Yeah, I'm here.
So I thought just to have a couple of minutes of some feedback as compared to the first session. Betty, how did you feel about the second session?
I thought they're both really good sessions. The material is it's very precious. It's when people are telling their lived experience, and it is they're coming from, as Zara would say, they're coming from denial, from rawness, from trauma, from fear, to gradually feeling more and more empowered. And Bernie and Shannon are both extraordinary examples of that journey. Their courage was, I mean, some of the things that they experienced, and I would even say to myself, I don't know how they're going to get up from this, and they would get up, and they would continue on. So it is my phrase is, it's a journey that's not for the faint of heart. So I think that it's great to have these opportunities to give people a voice, and a
Yeah.
voice in a multicultural environment, because in the each culture has its own viewpoint about trauma, abuse, and so it's good to have, it's beneficial, it's educational to have those opportunities to share with many people of different cultures.
Okay. Thank you. Summer, any comment you want to make?
So, Sab, the structure I would like to discuss a little bit, because I'm uh, very inspired by today's program, that how it was structured. And even we increased a little bit time, but it made a huge difference that everybody got a chance to talk. And most importantly, Shannon got to tell her whole story the way she wanted to tell. And your questioning and then and grabbing her attention, like, how about that, this part. So it was very, I think I would conclude it, this session is very more effective than last one. Last one was, it was of course the first session, so we did not know where we're going. And I felt like Bernie didn't get enough time to talk about her whole story and her, especially her healing part. So this was better than the last session, definitely structure wise. And feedback wise, I have one thing is, um, I was, when you explain trauma in the beginning and the symptoms and everything, it was very much completed for me. The introduction of the trauma was very much completed for me, and the feedback even was better than the previous session. Today it was more organized, and it was, I would say, like everybody within the timeline. I like that part, more productive, I would say. And yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Summer. Uh, Zahra, any comment you want to make?
Yeah, no, I liked it. I liked it. I think it was like last time it was very like nice too, and that yes, time we adjusted that, so that helped. I agree with Summer. And I like the psycho